He took a bullet to the chest in a dark alley, and the only reason he's alive today is because of the dog that refused to leave his side. This isn't just a story about crime or courage. This is about a bond forged in blood, tested by fire, and unbroken by death. When a police sergeant is ambushed on duty, it's not backup that saves him. It's his loyal canine partner who risks everything to bring him back. But what happens after the headlines fade? What does it take to heal a broken man? And how far will a dog go to keep his promise? This is Loyalty Beyond Duty, a K9's Promise. A story of survival, sacrifice, and a love that never lets go. The night was a living thing, cold, sharp, and hungry. A bitter wind sliced through the narrow alleyways of downtown Chicago, carrying with it the distant echoes of sirens and the faint metallic tang of blood. Sergeant Marcus Kane moved like a shadow, his boots silent against the cracked pavement, his breath forming pale ghosts in the frigid air. Beside him, Rex, his canine partner, a battle-hardened German shepherd with eyes like molten gold, padded forward, ears twitching at every distant sound. The mission was supposed to be simple, a high-risk drug bust, an ambush on one of the city's most dangerous gangs. But Marcus had been a cop long enough to know that nothing was ever simple. His radio crackled to life, the dispatcher's voice tight with tension. "Unit 7, status update." Marcus pressed the comm button, his voice low. "No visual yet. Moving in." Beside him, Rex let out a low, warning growl, his hackles rising. Marcus didn't hesitate. When Rex sensed danger, it was real. He tightened his grip on his firearm, scanning the darkness. The alley was too quiet, too still. Then, gunfire. The first shot tore through the silence like a thunderclap. Marcus felt the impact before he heard it, a searing burst of pain in his chest, knocking him backward. His vest had taken most of the blow, but the bullet had found flesh. Blood bloomed across his uniform, hot and slick against his skin. Gritting his teeth, he raised his weapon, but his vision swam. Move. Fight. But his body wasn't listening. Rex exploded into action, a snarling, snapping force of nature. He planted himself between Marcus and the unseen shooter, his deep-chested growl vibrating through the alley like a promise of violence. Marcus tried to speak, but his voice was a ragged whisper. "Rex, cover." The dog didn't need the command. He was already moving, circling Marcus protectively, his teeth bared in a silent challenge to whatever lurked in the shadows. Marcus's fingers trembled as he fumbled for his radio, but his strength was bleeding out with every second. The world narrowed to the pounding of his heart, the metallic taste of blood in his mouth. Then, footsteps. Rex's growl turned feral, his body coiled to strike. Marcus forced his eyes open, his vision blurring at the edges. A figure emerged from the darkness, another officer, or the shooter coming to finish the job. Rex lunged. The gunshot that followed was deafening. Marcus's heart stopped, but it wasn't Rex who fell. The shadow crumpled and Rex stood over the body, his muzzle dark with blood. Marcus's breath hitched. Good boy. But the fight wasn't over. His vision dimmed, the cold pavement biting into his back. Rex whined, pressing his nose against Marcus's face. Stay awake. But the darkness was pulling him under. With the last of his strength, Marcus gripped Rex's collar. Go, get help. For a heartbeat, Rex hesitated. Then, with a final lick to Marcus's bloodied hand, he turned and ran, disappearing into the night like a ghost. Marcus closed his eyes. The sirens sounded far, far away. Rex ran like the wind itself was chasing him. His powerful muscles burned as he tore through the labyrinth of alleys, his paws slamming against the pavement in a frantic rhythm. The scent of Marcus's blood clung to his fur, a metallic reminder of what was at stake. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to stand guard over his fallen partner. But he had a mission now. Find help. Save Marcus. The city blurred around him, neon signs smearing into streaks of color as he dodged dumpsters and leapt over scattered debris. His breaths came in sharp, controlled bursts, his mind laser-focused. He knew these streets, every shortcut, every hiding place. He and Marcus had walked them 100 times. But tonight the familiar felt foreign, dangerous. A sharp turn sent him skidding onto a busier street. Cars honked, brakes screeched as he darted across traffic. A cab swerved, the driver shouting curses, but Rex didn't slow. His nose caught a familiar scent: leather, gun oil, coffee. Officer Jake Rivera. Jake was leaning against his patrol car, sipping from a steaming paper cup, when a 90-pound German shepherd barreled into him like a freight train. The coffee went flying as Rex clamped down on Jake's sleeve, teeth piercing fabric but not skin. Jesus! Rex! Jake's heart jackhammered. The dog's eyes were wild, his body trembling with urgency. Then it clicked. Marcus. Rex released Jake's arm and spun, barking once, a deafening, commanding sound, before sprinting back the way he'd come. Jake didn't hesitate. He wrenched open the car door, keyed his radio. Officer down. Alley off 7th and State. Kane's hit. Need EMS asterisk now asterisk. Tires screamed as he floored the accelerator, Rex a dark streak ahead of him. The alley was a tomb when they arrived. Marcus lay sprawled on the ground, one hand still curled around his gun, the other pressed weakly to his chest. His skin was the color of chalk, his breathing shallow. Blood pooled beneath him, black in the dim light. Rex reached him first, whining as he nudged Marcus's face. "Wake up! Wake up!" Jake dropped to his knees, fingers pressing into Marcus's neck. "Pulse is thready." He ripped open Marcus's shirt, revealing the gruesome wound. "Damn it, Kane, you better not do this to me." He grabbed his trauma kit, packing gauze against the bullet hole. Blood soaked through instantly. Rex paced, his claws clicking against the pavement. He licked Marcus's limp hand, then threw his head back and howled. A sound so raw it raised the hair on Jake's arms. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. "Hang on," Jake growled, pressing harder. "Just hang on." Rex's ears pricked. Footsteps, voices, help was coming. But Marcus's breath hitched, stuttered. Rex pressed his forehead against Marcus's, his entire body shaking. "Don't you dare leave me." Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as the emergency room doors slammed open. The gurney raced down the corridor, wheels squeaking against the tile. Paramedics barked out vitals. Gunshot wound to the chest, pulse weak, pressure dropping, while nurses scrambled to clear the way. Doctors hovered, exchanging rapid-fire commands. In the middle of it all, Sergeant Marcus Kane lay pale and motionless, barely clinging to consciousness. Behind the chaos, Rex halted at the entrance, stopped by a nurse who hesitated at the sight of the blood-streaked German shepherd. His ears were pinned back, his chest heaving with ragged breaths. Jake Rivera knelt beside him, gripping his collar. "Easy, boy. They're taking care of him." But Rex wasn't calm. He growled low, his eyes locked on the doors that had swallowed Marcus. He tugged against Jake's grip, his instincts refusing to let him leave his partner behind. Inside the operating room, the team worked frantically. Marcus's heart had stopped once in the ambulance but was jolted back by the paramedics. Now every second mattered. The bullet had missed his heart by inches but had done serious internal damage. Blood was pooling too quickly. The lead surgeon's brow furrowed as he barked for more suction. Time was running out. Meanwhile, Rex paced restlessly in the sterile waiting room. His nails clicked against the tile floor with each anxious step. He refused food, water, or rest. Every time someone in scrubs passed by, his head would snap up in hope, only to droop when it wasn't the face he was waiting for. Jake sat nearby, exhausted but watching Rex closely. "You know," Jake murmured, rubbing Rex's back, "most dogs would have panicked. But not you, huh? You ran through traffic, found me, led me back. You saved his life." Rex let out a soft whine, pressing his head into Jake's thigh. His body trembled, not from fear, but from holding in all the emotion, the urgency, the need to be there. Hours dragged by. Midnight came and went. The waiting room emptied out, but Rex stayed put. A nurse approached cautiously, kneeling in front of him. "He won't budge," she whispered to Jake, both in awe and pity. "He's been like this for hours." Jake nodded. "He's not going anywhere. That's his partner in there." At long last, just as dawn began to tint the sky a dusky purple, the surgeon stepped into the room. His scrubs were stained, his eyes ringed with fatigue, but there was a faint smile tugging at his lips. He made it through. Stable for now, but the next 24 hours are critical. Jake exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "Can he see him?" he asked, gesturing toward Rex. The surgeon hesitated, then nodded. "Just for a minute. He's earned it." Inside the ICU, Marcus lay pale and still, a tangle of tubes and beeping monitors surrounding his bed. Rex trotted in slowly, cautiously. The moment he saw Marcus, his entire body relaxed, but his tail wagged tentatively, unsure. He leapt gently onto the bed, curling up beside Marcus, careful not to disturb the wires. He rested his chin on Marcus's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath the machines. Marcus didn't stir, but Rex didn't care. He was finally where he needed to be, guarding, watching, waiting. As dawn broke outside the window, the longest night was finally over. Absolutely. Here's an expanded and emotionally rich version of Chapter 4, The Unbreakable Bond, extended to at least 40 lines. Darkness. That's all Marcus could see, a deep, endless void that seemed to stretch forever. Voices echoed faintly, distant, warped, like they were underwater. Machines beeped in the background, rhythmic and cold. Somewhere in that haze, something warm pressed against him. A steady heartbeat, a soft whimper, then a memory. Rex, bounding through the training course as a puppy, his oversized paws tripping over each other. The first day they met, the way he looked at Marcus with curious amber eyes. No fear, only trust. Another flash, snow falling during patrol, the two of them bundled up and watching over a quiet neighborhood. Marcus had tossed a snowball at Rex. The dog had chased it like a rocket, then turned back with that silly, lopsided grin. Then came the mission. The alley, the shot, the pain, the world spinning. And finally, Rex's eyes filled with fear and loyalty as he dashed off into the night. Rex. The darkness trembled. Marcus stirred slightly, his fingers twitching. Rex's ears perked up, his body instantly alert. He was curled up at Marcus's side, refusing to budge, even when nurses tried to guide him out. Jake had given up trying to make him leave hours ago. He just sat nearby, sipping cold coffee and watching the bond between man and dog transcend anything he'd ever seen. Rex lifted his head and nudged Marcus's limp hand, licking it gently. Another twitch, then a murmur. Marcus's eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painfully, he opened them. Blinding white light greeted him, and confusion settled in, until his gaze landed on Rex. The moment their eyes met, something shifted. Rex barked short and sharp, tail thumping against the hospital bed. Jake jumped from his chair, spilling his coffee. "No way! Marcus!" Jake rushed to the bed, but Marcus's eyes never left Rex. His voice was dry, barely audible. "You came back." Rex licked his face, whining in joy. His tail wagged so hard it rocked the bed. Jake grinned, swiping at his eyes. "Tough son of a gun," Welcome back, man. Marcus reached up with trembling fingers, brushing them through Rex's fur. You saved me, didn't you? Rex leaned into the touch, his head resting on Marcus's chest. He didn't need to speak. The answer was in his eyes. Always. As the machines beeped steadily and the morning light spilled into the room, the bond that had always been there, unseen but unbreakable, glowed brighter than ever. Marcus might have lost blood, strength, and weeks of his life, but he hadn't lost him. Rex had been his protector, his partner, and now, his miracle. Absolutely. Here's an expanded, emotionally engaging version of Chapter 5, The Road Back, with a focus on healing, struggle, and the quiet power of loyalty. The road to recovery was anything but smooth. Marcus spent weeks confined to a hospital bed, hooked to monitors and IVs, his body healing inch by painful inch. The physical wounds were deep, but the mental scars ran deeper. Each night was a battle. The moment his eyes closed, the memory of that alley came rushing back. The sudden gunfire, the searing pain, the crushing helplessness. He'd wake up drenched in sweat, gasping for air, heart racing like he was still bleeding out on that cold pavement. But every time he opened his eyes, Rex was there. At first, hospital staff had hesitated to allow the dog to stay. But after seeing the way Marcus's heart monitor steadied whenever Rex was near, how his blood pressure improved with each visit, they relented. A special bed was set up beside Marcus's, but Rex rarely used it. He preferred the narrow space between the bed and wall, staying close enough to rest his chin on Marcus's arm. Therapy sessions followed, both physical and psychological. Marcus had to relearn how to move without pain, how to breathe without clenching his jaw, how to trust that he was truly safe. And through it all, Rex matched him step for step. When Marcus struggled to walk again, Rex walked beside him, calm and steady, like a four-legged anchor grounding him to the earth. Still, there were days Marcus questioned everything. "What if I'm not ready?" he whispered once, staring at the reflection of his tired eyes in the mirror. "What if I freeze up again?" Rex padded over, placing his paw gently on Marcus's knee. His eyes met Marcus's with quiet certainty, as if saying, "Then we'll face it together." One evening, after weeks of slow progress, Marcus stepped out onto his porch for the first time since the shooting. The sunset painted the sky in soft purples and golds. He sat heavily in a wooden chair, his muscles aching but his heart strangely at peace. Rex followed, nudging open the screen door with his nose, then sitting at Marcus's feet. For a while they simply sat in silence. Then, without a word, Rex trotted into the yard and returned with a battered, dirt-smudged tennis ball, their old favorite. He placed it in Marcus's lap, tail wagging hopefully. Marcus chuckled, the sound rusty from disuse. "You still remember, huh?" He picked up the ball, turning it over in his fingers, then glanced down at Rex. "All right," he said with a grin, his voice stronger than it had been in weeks. "Let's see if I've still got it." He threw it. Not far. His arm trembled with the motion, but Rex sprinted after it like it was the greatest treasure in the world, barking with glee, then racing back, tail wagging furiously. And for the first time since the nightmare began, Marcus felt alive. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was living, not alone, not broken, but healing, one throw, one step, one breath at a time. Absolutely. Here's an expanded and emotionally fulfilling version of Chapter 6, Return to Duty, filled with a sense of triumph, reflection, and the deep connection between Marcus and Rex. The morning sun cast a golden hue over the precinct as Marcus stood at the edge of the parking lot, staring at the building he once walked into without hesitation. Now his heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of everything it had taken to get here. His uniform fit snug again, his badge polished to a shine, but the real difference was the man wearing it. He took a slow, deep breath. Beside him, Rex sat tall and alert, head high, eyes scanning the surroundings like he was already back on duty. His vest had been cleaned, repaired, and reissued, emblazoned with a new patch, Valor Unit. Marcus looked down and gave a soft smile. "You ready, partner?" Rex let out a quiet bark, the kind only Marcus could understand. Not excitement, not impatience, just confidence. A shared message. We're back, and we're stronger. As they stepped through the precinct doors, conversations quieted. Heads turned. Officers paused in the middle of reports and phone calls. The room filled with a different kind of silence. Respectful, reverent. Captain Harris emerged from his office, eyebrows raised before softening into a proud smile. "Well, I'll be damned," Marcus saluted. "Reporting for duty, sir." Harris returned the gesture, then pulled him into a firm handshake. "The streets missed you, Kane. We all did. And Rex," he knelt slightly, scratching behind Rex's ears, "you, my friend, are a hero." Rex licked his hand in approval. As Marcus made his way toward his old locker, familiar sounds filled the air. Dispatch chatter, the squeak of boots, coffee cups clinking. It all came rushing back. He opened the locker slowly. Inside was a photo pinned to the door, him and Rex, side by side, taken months before the shooting. That moment, once a reminder of what was lost, now felt like a promise fulfilled. Soon, they were back in their squad car. Marcus settled into the driver's seat while Rex leapt effortlessly into the passenger side. The city spread out before them, dangerous, unpredictable, alive. Marcus gripped the wheel. "Let's hit the streets." Rex gave a short huff, tail tapping against the seat. Their first call came over the radio, a potential break-in just a few blocks away. Marcus didn't hesitate. The engine roared to life, the sirens wailed, and they were off. Back in the chase, back in the rhythm, back where they belonged. But something was different now. Every mile they drove wasn't just patrol, it was a victory. Every breath Marcus took behind that wheel was a testament to survival. And every glance at Rex reminded him why he was still standing. They weren't just a team. They were a bond forged through pain, sealed by loyalty, and unbreakable by time. They hadn't just returned to duty, they had earned it. Absolutely. Here's an expanded and emotionally fulfilling version of in Chapter 6, Return to Duty, filled with a sense of triumph, reflection, and the deep connection between Marcus and Rex. The morning sun cast a golden hue over the precinct as Marcus stood at the edge of the parking lot, staring at the building he once walked into without hesitation. Now his heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of everything it had taken to get here. His uniform fit snug again, his badge polished to a shine, but the real difference was the man wearing it. He took a slow, deep breath. Beside him, Rex sat tall and alert, head high, eyes scanning the surroundings like he was already back on duty. His vest had been cleaned, repaired, and reissued, emblazoned with a new patch, Valor Unit. Marcus looked down and gave a soft smile. "You ready, partner?" Rex let out a quiet bark, the kind only Marcus could understand. Not excitement, not impatience, just confidence. A shared message. We're back, and we're stronger. As they stepped through the precinct doors, conversations quieted. Heads turned. Officers paused in the middle of reports and phone calls. The room filled with a different kind of silence, respectful, reverent. Captain Harris emerged from his office, eyebrows raised before softening into a proud smile. "Well, I'll be damned," Marcus saluted. "Reporting for duty, sir." Harris returned the gesture, then pulled him into a firm handshake. "The streets missed you, Kane. We all did. And Rex, he knelt slightly, scratching behind Rex's ears. You, my friend, are a hero. Rex licked his hand in approval. As Marcus made his way toward his old locker, familiar sounds filled the air. Dispatch chatter, the squeak of boots, coffee cups clinking. It all came rushing back. He opened the locker slowly. Inside was a photo pinned to the door, him and Rex, side by side, taken months before the shooting. That moment, once a reminder of what was lost, now felt like a promise fulfilled. Soon they were back in their squad car. Marcus settled into the driver's seat while Rex leapt effortlessly into the passenger side. The city spread out before them, dangerous, unpredictable, alive. Marcus gripped the wheel. Let's hit the streets. Rex gave a short huff, tail tapping against the seat. Their first call came over the radio. A potential break-in just a few blocks away. Marcus didn't hesitate. The engine roared to life, the sirens wailed, and they were off. Back in the chase, back in the rhythm, back where they belonged. But something was different now. Every mile they drove wasn't just patrol, it was a victory. Every breath Marcus took behind that wheel was a testament to survival. And every glance at Rex reminded him why he was still standing. They weren't just a team. They were a bond forged through pain, sealed by loyalty, and unbreakable by time. They hadn't just returned to duty, they had earned it. Absolutely. Here's an expanded and deeply emotional version of the epilogue, rich with heartfelt reflection and meaningful closure. The auditorium buzzed with soft murmurs, the kind of quiet excitement that filled the air before something important. Rows of uniformed officers sat shoulder to shoulder, medals pinned, hands folded. Families, friends, and local citizens filled the rest of the seats, their eyes drawn to the stage set beneath a large banner. Annual Service and Valor Ceremony, honoring our heroes. Marcus stood off stage, his dress blues immaculate, hands slightly trembling. Not from nerves, but from emotion. He wasn't alone. At his side, Rex sat tall, wearing his own formal K9 vest, complete with a polished silver tag that shimmered under the lights. His ears twitched with each sound, but his gaze never left Marcus. Even in a room full of people, Rex stayed locked in, calm and poised, as if he knew exactly why they were there. An announcer stepped to the podium. Tonight we honor not just bravery in action, but loyalty in its purest form. One partnership stood out this year, not because of headlines, but because of heart. A spotlight shifted toward the wings. Sergeant Marcus Kane and K9 Rex, please join us. Applause erupted. Officers rose to their feet. Some clapped. Others simply stood with hands over hearts. Marcus swallowed hard, placing one hand gently on Rex's harness. Come on, partner. It's your moment. They walked to center stage as the clapping swelled into a thunderous ovation. Marcus kept his eyes forward, but he could feel it. The weight of every salute, every cheer, every tear in the crowd. Not for him. For them. For what they represented. The chief of police approached, holding a small velvet box. Rex, he said, lowering himself to one knee. For bravery beyond instinct, loyalty beyond training, and service beyond duty, we present you with the Medal of Valor. He opened the box. Inside, a gleaming medal nestled on a ribbon of deep blue. The chief reached forward as Marcus knelt beside Rex, gently attaching the medal to the clasp on his vest. Rex stood perfectly still, allowing the moment to happen, his eyes calm and proud. The crowd roared. Marcus leaned forward, forehead touching Rex's. His voice, barely a whisper, was meant for no one else. You earned this, buddy. You saved my life. You gave me mine back. Rex licked his face once, softly. His tail swayed once, twice, then settled. Later, outside under the night sky, Marcus sat on the hood of his car, looking up at the stars. The medal still hung from Rex's vest, catching glimmers of moonlight as he laid beside him. The city was quieter now. The world didn't feel so heavy. Marcus exhaled slowly, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. You know, there were days I didn't think we'd make it back here. Rex rested his head on Marcus's leg. But we did. It wasn't about awards or recognition. It never had been. It was about every night patrol, every unspoken word, every moment when all they had was each other. The bond between them hadn't just survived the darkest night. It had come out stronger, shining brighter than ever. And as long as Marcus had breath in his lungs and Rex at his side, he knew one truth above all. Loyalty wasn't just a duty, it was a promise. And Rex had kept it. Forever.